13 seasons have passed, but I walk into this dilapidated place known to everyone as the Barn, like I was returning to it after a disappointing 2-week summer break. I'm anxious, sweating, not about the job, about the interview, the kind of social situation I dread. I wander down the narrow corridor. It hasn't seen fresh paint since Higgy volunteered to decorate 3 months before I left. The carpets are new, strangely enough, loud and headache-inducing, admittedly, but new. I pass the office, a large cupboard rammed with everything from cleaners, mops, detergent supplies and cans of petrol to last season's team strips. Balls and training equipment. It smells like something has crawled in there and died months ago. The changing rooms are exactly as I remember them. Cold, dark, windowless and stinking of a mix of stale body odour and Raljek spray. The showers drip, the urinal trough is dented in the middle, leaving a puddle at the opposite end from the drain. And the light switch has gone on strike. I make a mental note to swap the home and away dressing rooms for next season. There's not much to choose between them, but I'd rather we benefited from a working radiator when the winter hits. The season we got to the League Cup final, a small army of volunteers materialised. The facilities were transformed. It's amazing what a wee bit of spit and polish and elbow grease can achieve, they'd say proudly. A selfless backroom team galvanised by the unfettered joy of an unexpected cup run. Failure, on the other hand, is like a rot that sets into everything and everyone, a blanket of gloom descending on a whole community of desperate men, for this is a corner of community life that is almost exclusively male. A pervading depression descends. There's too much invested, too little self-control on the sidelines when that investment bears nothing. Fans arguing and fighting amongst themselves, as if the village didn't have enough to contend with. The committee room is the biggest space in the small rectangular complex. As soon as the door opens, fresh shaken vac wafts up my nostrils, as powerful as smelling salts. An electric heater makes the room feel like the Amazon. The panel of 4 face me. None were here when I played for the club. To their right is the window onto the pitch. It's cracked. Brown tape runs along the fissure on the inside. To the left are the wooden wall panels decorated with the names of captains and players of the year going back to the dawn of the 20th century. 2 young Barshaw sons who didn't return from a war are also commemorated. Alongside them is Bill Shankly, who briefly played here. Further along is mine, the club's last great young hope, who abandoned it on the eve of their only cup final appearance of recent times. I'm surprised it hasn't been chiselled out, like one from an earlier era seems to have been. They know me, but I only know one of them. A ball yet not kicked in anger, and I see defeat in their faces, sense the heavy gloom that is polluting the air. They are going through the motions. No one will touch this job. They know I know this. But still there's the formality to undergo. Rules are rules. William Kidd is the chairman. He took over early last season. He's new to the area. He doesn't have the deep roots of the others, but he has money, and that's more important. He runs a small carpet fitting business called Kidd's Carpets. They run regular adverts on a local radio station with the ridiculous tagline, "Piles Better." The logo is everywhere around the ground and on the club's red strips. I asked Higgy how much money Kidd has put in. He didn't know the sum, but he feels the need to reaffirm just how hard Kidd's small team have worked to raise money for the club over the last year. Higgy vouches for the chairman like he was a mob boss's consigliere, but it's the depth of Billy the Kid's pockets that I'm primarily interested in, not the benevolence of his character. Other second division clubs like Muirkirk, Ardere, Troon or Craigmark can muster finances to change the squad. Barshaw has a tiny fraction of that to work with. We'll be relying on gate money if we can attract a crowd, and intermittent sponsorship from the King's Arms, and the tireless fundraising of its committee members, main and sub. The only other route is favours, but reciprocity is in short supply here, just like everything else. "Mr. Garvey, hello. All right if we call you Daniel." Billy the Kid is a bald ball of meat and whiskey, as wide as he is tall. Danny, I reply. Ah, yes, Danny, says the chairman. He probably thinks I should have grown out of Danny by now, become something more adult. Daniel, en route to the middle-aged era of Dan. We'll take some notes if that's okay. Mr. Kidd jerks his head sharply to one side and I follow its direction towards the corner. One of the seated men opens a notepad. Behind him, a young woman stands so close to a curtain that at first I think it's what she's wearing. She has long dark hair that almost reaches the clipboard she's holding. The committee introduced themselves as they came in, but no one refers to her. I hear you were quite a prospect when you last pulled on the ship, eh? It's a stupid icebreaker on anybody's terms. He sounds like a disappointed headmaster about to admonish a former star pupil. It draws my gaze back from the corner of the room. I don't answer. The past is a foreign country and all that bollocks. So, Danny, why do you want this job? I resist the urge to tell him that I don't. That my reasons for coming back here are nothing to do with the club, that it's simply a convenient staging post in the journey out of the dark place that I'm stuck in. I think I know how to win, I say, generalising. The committee react like it was the Gettysburg Address. Nods and smiles, the woman writes, job done for them. Billy the kid gets up and goes to the cabinet. He opens a door and brings out a decanter. He pours a whiskey for each of his colleagues. They are celebrating after one answered question. Well, that's our number one priority, son, says Phil Dick, the only one here that I remember. Phil's wife Senga was my primary southern teacher. She was, as you might expect, known as Sukma. Scrubbing this off the red brick toilet walls became a full-time job for the janitors. A letter was once given out to every child outlining that Mrs. Dick was reverting to her maiden name of Brown. It didn't help. Sukma Brown was arguably funnier. I briefly consider asking if she's still teaching, but I don't. 442 or 433, poses Bert Thompson, club secretary, as if we're holed up in a bank vault and he's whispering combination alternatives. I see the numbers written on his notepad. His pen is now poised, ready to record my response. Dunno, I'll need to assess the players, see how adaptable they are. Good man, he says, winking at the chairman, as one rehearsed question has been addressed. The chairman offers me a plastic cup, but I decline. Higgy's been keeping an eye on your progress with your broth kids. I glance over at the corner. The woman is staring out the window, probably watching Higgy pacing the touchline. Yuri's recommendation, I'm sure you'll gather. Aye, I say, to fill the gap he leaves. We had a couple of options, says the chairman. I don't believe him. Higgy would have told me. Gilhooly, last season's captain, was sounded out, but he told Phil Dick that he'd rather get a shot back and sides off a combine harvester. You've made a few waves up there. The Press and Journal feature. We thought we'd best get in, quick, before Man United come calling. They laugh, not at me, and not in the condescending way this sounds. I think Fergie's probably pretty safe, I say, smiling. They are delighted at this because it opens the door to the real reason why I'm being interviewed for a single candidate post. What's he like then, Big Alec? Asks Treasurer Des Bryson on behalf of the males present, the beaming, expectant faces. Best not to let them down. I conceal the truth and appropriate an apocryphal story that they'll recount at dinner parties for years. He came to the house back in '83, right after the Talbot semi-final, I tell them. They're preparing for the Cup Winners' Cup final, and he still finds time to drive all the way to Barshaw to persuade a 16-year-old to sign for his club. This staggers them, and it would have staggered me too had it been the truth. He told me I'd been nurtured at the Dons, looked after and developed properly. He said I'd be a future Scotland captain under his direction, I tell them. When he said that, I knew it was the club for me. Aberdeen was the option available to me that put the most distance between me and the consequences of what happened on the night of the Talbot game. Alec Ferguson didn't come personally to pluck me from teenage obscurity. That's the truth, but that's not the tale I'm telling them. What a fella, says the chairman. Their faces ooze admiration at the class of the man whose picture I'm painting, the cut of him, the exquisite taste of him. I'm certain Billy the Kid will be contemplating the possibility of me persuading my old boss to revisit Barshaw, hand out a commemorative medal or two, record a line praising the luxurious comfort of a kid carpet, uttering the words, "Piles better." "Oh, Christ, son, that's brilliant." Phil Dick slaps his thighs when I lie about Alec Ferguson driving me personally to Arbroath 10 years ago, one of his last acts before taking over at Old Trafford. I'm not the man they think I am.